Like real life. Hey everybody, I I would love to show you today how to make a really simple recipe. We call it a garlic and lemon drizzle. Last week I made something called the lemon and garlic syrup, and that was super popular. So I wanted to kind of take it a step further, but also not only leverage all the amazing properties of lemon and garlic, especially during this time, but it's also creating a recipe that you can pretty much drizzle on anything and makes it really exciting. So many of us right now are cooped up at home. We are cooking a lot more than before. Many of you have hesitations about ordering, even if it's a curbside or delivery, which I'm completely with you. I'm not doing that at all. I have my hesitations around it. And so I've also been cooking a ton more at home, right? So I want to show you one recipe that is a beautiful drizzle that's really tasty. It's got all the medicinal benefits that we were after, but and it can be just really added onto anything. You can be putting that on top of roasted vegetables, on top of a piece of meat. You can jazz up your steamed boring vegetables. After this, I'm gonna just make a quick cucumber salad and use that drizzle to put that in and enjoy it, okay? So really it just takes you a few minutes, and the beautiful thing about it is that it can sit in the fridge for a very long time. So I'm gonna be using my NutriBullet here, but you can use anything, a really good mixer will do. So the ingredients that we're gonna be working with is, and by the way, this is a traditional Middle Eastern recipe. A lot of times, like for those of you who've maybe been to Israel or Jordan, or you come from a Middle Eastern family, you would know that there's actually a lot more than kebab, and pita, right? And a lot of times you have these beautiful dressings, and so traditionally in Middle Eastern restaurants, they will use that as a drizzle for like lamb or on top of rice, and it's just so versatile. You can add it to anything. So what I'm gonna be using is a form of a yogurt, but this yogurt it's dairy free. I do not recommend for you to be eating dairy if you wanna stay low on the inflammation. Um, the lights are what, like shining on it. Okay, so I'm using a probiotic cashew milk yogurt from Forager. I think they have national distribution in the United States, but hey, if you're in the UK or watching from other country, just look for dairy free or lactose free kefir or yogurt. Liquid will do. You can also use regular yogurt, but then add a little bit more water to it, and I'll guide you through it in a second. The second thing we're gonna be using is the classical tahini, right? Which is basically your sesame paste. That is all ground up in here and ready to go. And then, one of the reasons why you guys love that recipe so much that I made last week was because of the lemon and garlic. Really important ingredients right now during the pandemic. Why garlic? Hugely anti-inflammatory, antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal. And then we have lemon, but the trick here is that in a traditional recipe like this one, you'll be using only lemon juice. However, because of the pandemic, we want to get the full benefit of the lemon, and so you're going to be using the rind as well. I know if you're freaking out thinking like, you are crazy woman, I know a lot of you thought that it was a really weird thing to do, but then so many of you have made the syrup, and we've got one of the biggest number of complimentary comments on that recipe saying this was really tasty. People were saying they were getting addicted in a good way, saying that all the sugar cravings were going away. People were coming down with like sinusy stuff, and they just had a couple of teaspoons of that syrup, and everything was just going away. So that's the classical version of this recipe. If you feel so inspired and be wanting to add a little bit more other things, such as maybe ginger, or perhaps you want to add a little bit of cumin seeds or fennel seeds, be my guest. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with doing that. So let's get started. I will tell you, I started making this recipe probably 6 months ago, so I'm completely winging it. But Taylor here, who is one of our team members, and she's a fellow herbalist from my herbal school, she is gonna be helping to kind of create the recipe on the go, if you will. So you can see I'm a big improviser. Sometimes can be things can go wrong, but a lot of times it's also fun. So we're just leveraging that. So I'm using tahini from Artisana, and that's the brand. And this one is you can see it's got a pretty dense consistency, right? A lot of times you can get tahini that is a lot more liquid. So if your tahini is a lot more liquid, you're going to be adding less water than I am. All right, so what is, I'm doing probably about half a cup, Taylor, of my tahini paste, okay? You want to use organic as much as possible. So then the second thing we're gonna do, actually, let's do garlic next, because garlic needs about 10 minutes of resting to release what's called allicin. And when I talked about all these amazing properties that garlic had, it's because of that enzyme, because of the substance called allicin. Allicin is the enzyme that releases allicin. And so for allicin to get fully released, you need to leave this garlic alone after crushing it. Don't touch it for the next 10 minutes. And then you can cook with it and do whatever. But remember that 6 minutes of cooking of that garlic clove is gonna destroy all the medicinal properties. So you have a lot of flavor left, but not much of that allicin that we are after. Okay, so we're gonna add this in just a second. Let's see, the next thing, let's just maybe go with is our yogurt. So like I said, you know, the yogurt that I'm using is cashew based. There are coconut ones that are out there in market. There's a lot of different yogurts that are dairy free. So just pick those. If yours is not liquid the way mine is, no problem at all. You're just gonna be adding a little more water than I would need, okay? So I'm using probably like a good cup of forager, it's called probiotic cashew yogurt, okay? And then the next ingredient we're gonna be adding in here is your lemon. Now we're gonna be using a full lemon, including the rind. I'm gonna start off with, half a lemon first, just to see what it tastes like. Because to be perfectly honest with you, I've never used a full lemon in this recipe, including the rind, and the rind is very pungent and is obviously very flavorful. So we don't want to overdo it either, okay? Now, for those of you who follow me for a while and you know that I am really big on fermented lemons, preserved lemons, right? Feel free to actually use that too, because instead of using this, because that is hugely medicinal too. And if you're fascinated by what I'm talking about, here is one jar that I still have that are preserved lemons, and these guys have been here for over a year. So those are lemons with salt, very salty brine that you ferment, and they become really limp, and you don't actually eat the pulp itself. You can see I'm having a problem opening it. It becomes, that's the consistency. If we can do a zoom in, Cheryl, that would be great. So it's very limp. It doesn't taste like lemon at all. For those of you who maybe have been to Morocco, you've had tagine before. Lemon tagine. Most of the time, the lemon tagine, which is a Moroccan stew, comes with like the beautiful flavor. You always wonder what that was. That actually comes from preserved lemons. And so it's one of my favorite tastes. Would you like to try some, Cheryl? Just a little tiny bit? Yes? Okay. Cheryl is, I know I'm always putting her on a spot here. I don't know whether she likes it or not, but she keeps coming back to help me, so I'm assuming it's not too terrible. There you go. So I'm curious what you think about that. I know you are a big foodie. You like good food. She says, Quite interesting, right? Doesn't taste like a lemon anymore?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't, right?
It tastes the salt.
It's like a new flavor altogether, right? Like it's not something that you can compare to it tastes like something. It's just totally different. So so if you have preserved lemons, because many of you have made preserved lemons with us before, and I did a full video tutorial on how to make preserved lemons. Really so simple. You cut them up, you put a bunch of salt, release the juice from the lemons, and then you let them sit. And so, Cheryl, that's been here for a year, right? And it hasn't rotten, but salt, will prevent any kind of mold or pathogenic bacteria from developing. So I think that our garlic should be ready. So we don't need to chop it too much, just very roughly, because we're gonna be blending it. So no big deal. I'm using 2 cloves, you guys. If you are a big garlic lover, gosh, I mean, just put in more. I am a moderate garlic lover, and my digestion does better when I don't overdo it. So for that reason, I'm not gonna be putting more than 2 cloves. Okay, so we're pretty much ready to blend this baby up, and I will tell you just from experience that tahini tends to be quite dense, and so I'm gonna add probably half a cup of water to this, and we might need to a little bit more depending on the needs. Now, one other thing I forgot to do here will be salt. When I put in some salt. Now, if you're using preserved lemon, please do not add any salt first. Taste it and only then decide if you need more salt, because there is a bunch of salt already that's penetrated the rind, and so I'm using here about half a teaspoon of salt first, and let's see how that goes for us before we change anything else. Okay, so this has come out quite liquid. I probably should not have added that water and waited. Lesson learned. That's what happens when you improvise a lot. But let me do the tasting first. Okay, so we can put in more tahini to it. Believe it or not, I would actually put the full lemon in. It's actually, I personally love that strong lemony taste. So in fact, I'm actually gonna be a little bit more playful, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a preserved lemon. In the Instagram folks can see, yes. So this is a full lemon like this. I'm gonna probably use half of that. Okay, so I'm just gonna tear this off. And what you want to do is you want to get the pulp out. We don't want to be using the pulp so much. There's also seeds in there. That's not the good stuff. Really, the good stuff is in the rind. I forgot to mention the reason why we want the rind of the lemon, you guys, is because it contains something called hesperidin, and hesperidin has now been researched as a very powerful ACE2 receptor blocker, which is essential in our corona pandemic currently, because corona, the virus, gets through into the receptor, into the cell, through that ACE2 receptor. So basically, short version of it is that the rind in the lemon can help prevent the virus from coming in. So you are creating like a wall, that if you're exposed, it's gonna help you basically prevent it from penetrating and doing damage. All right, and again, the beauty of this recipe is, and that's why I really want to encourage you not to get too hung up over the recipe itself, is for you to experiment to kind of figure out what's going to work. And this is the consistency that we want. Cheryl, could you grab for me a mason jar from the cabinet? Sorry, I forgot to bring one. So I want to just pour this out and show everybody what it would look like. Perfect, thank you. So this is typically what I would then use and pour that into my mason jar, and this can keep in a fridge for a good couple of weeks, no problem. And how I would use it is, for example, today we have a nice warm day here in Colorado. So I've just got some Persian cucumbers, and what I'm gonna do is gonna chop them up, and I'm gonna drizzle this beautiful dressing right on top. I'm gonna have it with a piece of chicken, maybe a gluten-free toast if I need some starch, and that's gonna be it. That's gonna be lunch. And if you feel like maybe you have some like cilantro that's left over, parsley that's left over, put that in here. It's perfectly fine. In fact, one of the great way of preserving herbs, those fresh herbs, so they don't go into waste. So to put them into dressings like that, and then they don't want to go bad because they get preserved by all the fat that's in the drizzle itself. So hey, you guys, really simple recipe. The garlic and lemon drizzle for you today, and I hope you guys try it because it's so simple. I'm wondering how many of you here are going to be trying it. And I'm just going to go over to questions to see what do we have that's coming up. And I can't imagine that we're going to have too many questions about this. But if you are a fan of garlic and lemon the way a lot of you were with the syrup, then I think you're going to like this recipe a lot. Sorry, let me just do a quick look on Instagrammers. I can't see your comments. I'm so sorry because I'm too far away from the computer. But let me see. A lot of times when people ask questions on Facebook, you probably have the same questions too. All right. Hillary saying, I can't wait to try this. Do you have a gluten-free bread recipe? We do actually, Hillary. There's a number of them in my cookbook. If you have that, then check it out. Cooking for Hormone Balance is on Amazon. If you don't have it, you can get it there. There's a number of different recipes there. Elizabeth Power is saying, this is delicious. Amy saying, I'm allergic to tahini. What can I replace it with? Great question. I forgot to mention, a really great replacement would be cashews, right? Because it does have the same, the kind of consistency. You could also potentially use almond butter, cashew butter. You could use sesame seed butter, pumpkin seed. So anything that's in those butters, just replace that instead of using tahini. You're not gonna get the sesame seed kind of flavor to it, but if you can't have it, you can't have it, right? Let's see. So, are there any other questions, Taylor, that I'm missing? Didn't catch up much. Okay, so how much yogurt did I use? About a cup. Yeah. Okay. So on Instagram, we're getting a lot of hearts and eyes. Okay, great. Okay, so that's what we have for this quick recipe. I hope you guys try it. And I'm going to make something else after this. I want to show you a smoothie that is also, I feel like I'm having a bit of a Moroccan theme here. This is a smoothie that I've learned how to make in Morocco from avocado and orange, but it's way healthier than what you get there. And we're going to be using the full orange, including the rind. So I want to show you a really simple, delicious recipe. So we're gonna hang up this call and then come back in probably 5 to 10 minutes and then do another one on the avocado and orange smoothie. All right, everybody, take care, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.